2 weeks. 2 weeks of flatness here in South Florida, and it's our surf season. So I got a lot of time on my hands. Let's take apart part 2 of the surf pop-up.
Folks, it's not really easy doing push-ups, but I'm glad you guys put in that work. Hopefully we've developed that muscle memory of doing explosive push-ups, so we don't really have to worry about that when we're out in the ocean. Hang in there, guys. Part 2 is going to be tricky, but I have come up with a sequence of exercises or a flow of exercises that I've helped my own surfers here out in the gym, and I want to share it with you guys. The big picture I'm trying to paint for you guys is to create muscle memory between the push-up and the knee tuck-in, so when you get out there in the water, it just happens automatically. Remember, repetition and form is key.
The muscles that we're going to focus on strengthening are the hip flexors. And hip flexion is this movement, bringing your knee up. The hip is flexing right here.
In this segment, we're going to train the muscles responsible for hip flexion. Hip flexion is the movement we need to get our feet onto the surfboard. First up is the rectus femoris. Here is the psoas muscle. Next up, iliacus muscle. Last but not least, the sartorius. Here's a good friend of mine, Pete Mandia, a East Coast pro surfer, and today we'll be dissecting his pop-up. His hands are on the surfboard. He's going to push up and through, at the same time exerting force up above his knees to bring his feet underneath him. To get a closer look, let's take this out of the water and do it on land. Let's freeze here. We have 4 points of contact on the surfboard right now. Right and left hand and right and left knee. Right there, that's when I initiate the explosive push-up. Instead of driving through our feet with an explosive push-up, we're going to drive through the top of our knees. And that's very important because our feet are always hanging off the surfboard. Our knees are always over our surfboard, so we're going to use the top of our knees as a source of contact so we can explode the body up to bring the feet underneath us. Take note that the back foot should be planted first, then followed by the front foot. Here is the first exercise we need to master. It's called the knee tuck-in. Same exercise, but I'm using a ball for more difficulty.
Real quick break here. I know what you're thinking. Hey, coach, what happened if I don't have those sliders or that turf kind of surface? Well, if you're at home and you have a hard surface floor, wood, porcelain, ceramic, all you need to do is get some really thick socks and you can do the same exercise on those surfaces. If you have carpet at home, a really good trick is to get an old Amazon box, cut like a rectangle right here for each foot, and you can put it under your feet and you can slide them back and forth just like the exercises. But ultimately, I do recommend you guys investing in a stability ball or exercise ball. You can find them on Amazon or at any outdoor sports store. They're pretty cheap. And I believe if you're over 6 feet tall, you want to invest in a 65 centimeter ball. And if you're under 6 feet tall, you want to invest in a 55 centimeter ball. And this is what I got right here. So without further ado, let's get back to the video.
Picking up where we left off, the knee tuck-ins. Not much to it. We're going to take some sliders and tuck our knees in. The starting position is low and behold like a push-up. Make sure your weight is evenly distributed between your hands and feet. Hands are placed right outside the shoulders and your feet are shoulder width apart. To really focus on strengthening the hip flexors, keep your angle of the back at a straight line and keep the knees close to the ground, meaning you don't want your butt to ride high up into the sky. I just want to stress that these exercises are not meant to mimic the pop-up, but we're only trying to isolate the hip flexors to strengthen them. Here I am demonstrating the knee tuck-ins, but I'm using a stability ball. Using the ball adds another level of difficulty. Now the ball adds an element of instability. Your core and hip flexors have to work in overtime now to draw the ball in and push it back out in a straight line. Now having your toes on the ball is pretty difficult with this exercise. You can start off with just having the ball on your shins, or you can regress and have your knees on the ball to make it a lot easier. After mastering the knee tuck-ins, we're going to move on to the pikes. Like the previous exercise, we start in a push-up position. Movement is only going to be initiated at the hip joint. Now we are truly isolating hip flexion as well as loading up our shoulders and triceps. Guys, this is a difficult exercise, so at first you may not be able to get your feet underneath your hips, but just work at it. Having tight hamstrings will also limit the motion of this exercise, so you may want to stretch your hamstrings before doing this exercise. Here is the pike being demonstrated on the ball. Having the feet on the ball is very difficult. To make it easier, start off with your shins or your knees on the ball. I'm just throwing this one exercise out for you guys. If you're very obsessive with getting your hip flexors super strong, you can get into unilateral training and do one leg at a time. Now, this will fire up your core and you must keep your hips level. Here is the last of the exercises we need to master. I call them the skiers. And we're going to work both sides, whether you're a goofy footer or a regular footer. Don't overcomplicate things. It's just knee tuck-ins with a twist. Your hip flexors are going to be working alongside your oblique rotational core muscles. Let's revisit the normal knee tuck-ins, and I'll show you how to morph it into the skiers. Remember, the setup is the same. Just slide that right knee into the left elbow. Remember, return your feet back to position, shoulder width apart, and let's watch that one more time. Let's switch it to the other side. Left knee to the right elbow. Now, taking a step back and looking at the overall big picture, you can see that exercise 1, the knee tuck-ins, with exercise 2, the pikes, and finishing off with exercise 3, the skiers. You can see how this is evolving into a surf pop-up. Like the other exercises, you can do the skiers on the ball. I like to keep my shins on the ball just to make it a little easier.
A quick summary for what we accomplished here. We broke the pop-up into 2 movements. First, we tackled the upper body movement with the push-ups going into the explosive push-ups. And for the second part of the movement, we've conquered the knee tuck-ins with the pikes along with the skiers. When you've become comfortable with those 2 movements, it's time to put it all together. You can start doing the pop-ups on the ground. But I want you guys to keep in mind that it is a lot harder to do it on the ground, to push all that body weight as if you were in the water. And it's because of one reason. If you time it right and you're dropping it on a wave, that surfboard is already descending, which means it's gonna be easier to push that board down to create space to bring your feet underneath you. And if you're mimicking the pop-up on the ground, there's no way you're gonna push the earth away from your body. You're dealing with your entire body weight. Now, it's my hope that you guys got something out of these 2 videos. I guarantee you it will help you with your pop-up out there in the ocean. Hey, thanks guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, shoot me a message in the comments section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.